Hello everyone and welcome back to SGTV. Today we are joined by Neil McManus, who is a former lecturer from Leicester College who saw the light and decided he wanted to come and work with us here at Scolmore. And we've also got Josh from Buckingham Electrical, who is actually a former student of Neil's at Leicester College.
Yep.
And Josh, you actually approached us about wanting to come in and talk about some of the shortfalls you're seeing in the industry.
I just think you've set me up. It's a nightmare from the past. The student who sat at the back of the class had no interest.
Come back to haunt you.
That's what it is. It's not even Halloween and he's haunting me already.
And that's why you've gone grey, is it, Neil?
It is, yeah, grey and losing my hair every day.
But actually, I quite liked the email you sent in, Josh. You were talking about not only the skills and things that are needed, especially in apprentices, and there's a lot more to it than that, but also the relationships sort of the younger generation are having with the older generation in terms of not only teaching techniques, but sort of the communication. I know we've spoken in previous videos about the communication skills apprentices and young learners need to get ahead.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you could just sort of tell us what sort of made you want to come in and talk to us.
I've been looking at employing an apprentice. There's sort of a lack of people coming through, and through my experience, I did my apprenticeship late. I started at 21, so what was that, 11 years ago now. So it was a short enough time to still remember it, but now with me being in sort of a senior position, I've got a foot in both camps still, and I thought it was quite important just to touch on some of the pitfalls of both sides as well, not just, you know, senior people or apprenticeships. But yeah, basically the issues going forward that I'm sort of encountering or have witnessed before. So I just thought maybe it might help the situation if you bring sort of things to light. That was it, basically.
So what skill sets do you think are missing in young people then that you're looking to employ? What are the major skill sets that you think are missing?
The biggest one is communication. You've got COVID and also people glued to social media and their phones. Through that, there is a lack of their communication skills. Now, some people it doesn't come natural to at all.
But do you think then it's something that's being not taught in colleges, the communication side of things? As part of the qualifications?
Not really, because
what can we do to improve it?
What I wanted to touch on more was rather than the technical aspects and what you should be learning in that, more the relationship side of it and the dynamics of fitting within a team, and how you can find or how you can provide value within that group, because essentially, when you come on board as an apprentice, you know, fresh out of nappies, you aren't going to be good at a lot of things, you know, and it's just finding those little things that you might be good at and taking the initiative to maybe sweep up or just little things like that that will then build your confidence, and then you'll then start to flourish then within that group, because essentially that's what it boils down to, is the dynamics of that. And if people don't fit in, they're not really going to be that interested in learning and trying to improve themselves. So
that brings me back to then the changes in new qualifications that are happening that you may not be aware of, is that there's an introduction that when people leave school now, they'll either go into higher education, they'll go into work or an apprenticeship, or they'll go down this T-level route. And the idea of the T-level is to make them work ready and employable. So part of it contains work experience in that. And that's a great opportunity for like Buckingham and other electrical contractors to support these young people that are out there and bring them into real life work experience. So they're away from the Game Boy and everything else, but they're learning the time management, they're learning communication skills, you know, how to check an order, a delivery order in that. So the reading and writing aspects of it. And yeah, I think you're quite right that there's a group of young people now that have been brought up on fever and everything else in this sitting rooms, rather than having to come down, communicate with people.
Yeah.
You know, you get on a bus now, you use an app, you scan your app in, you jump on the train, you've no longer got that communication with the ticket master, or you go to the shop now, you pick up a scanner, don't you, and scan everything, put it at till.
I think it is definitely an extra obstacle which people are now facing, and I wouldn't hold it against them, because you know it's there for everyone, technology, and in some ways it's made a lot of people's lives easier. But
definitely.
like you say, I do agree with you that it's probably had a negative effect in a way in terms of how people communicate. But I'd also be interested to gauge whether you think, and probably you, Neil, whether it's a new thing that there's almost a breakdown in communication between say older generations and younger generations, and maybe even the older generations and their previous generations, because I don't know.
Well, I
mean, times change. Education has always been changing, and the way people learn and communicate.
There's two things here, and I remember, like I say, I'll go back. Josh sitting in the 101, left-hand corner, back row, staring out the window. Yeah, listening to this boring chap in front of it. Weren't me, by the way.
Lad.
But, you know, they may be on the mobile phones. Mobile phones in technology is great because there's information out there. There's research. If you're finding something that the tutor's talking about, and you can share it with the rest of the group and communicate, fantastic opportunity. But if you're sitting and looking out of the window and you're ignoring opportunities, then, you know, quite clearly that communication between two people is lacking and missing.
I want to come back to that point, but just talking about the communication of, you know, technology being a barrier. It's not everyone, because
obviously I've said that, but it's a double-edged sword. With technology now, the information, it's all there. Like you can access it. Don't get me wrong, there are loads of benefits, but it's just when it's consuming people and taking their attention off into the wrong avenues.
What do you think can be done in terms of, say, from a tutor level or an employment level? What can you do as a mentor and influencer, someone who's taking young people under, well, not necessarily, well, yeah, I suppose we are talking about young people mainly here, under your wing, to sort of get that out of them? And I think it's a life skill in itself that everyone has to overcome. But what can you do to sort of help?
You know, I think I wouldn't want to ban mobile phones from a classroom or anything else, because quite clearly we are smart home. I'd want students being able to use the phones to program things.
Yeah.
You know, that's on there. There's learning resources that we all put onto the web to share.
SGTV being one of them.
SGTV being one of them. Voltimum being another one, where there's lots of information and guidance. And again, great opportunity that if you're going for an interview, where you can pick up these questions and interview skills that are missing. You know, preparation to go to a work placement. Therefore, I'd use my internet to research who are Buckingham Electrical, what type of work do they do, and find out that information. So when I do go for a work placement or interview, I've got something to communicate with them about.
What about, let's say, for example, you've hired someone, or you're teaching someone, and you might be on site doing something, and you're making sure that person is with you while you're talking to site managers, customers, and maybe giving them the opportunity.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been stitched up a few times where
go talk to him.
Yeah, this is your manager for the day. Go on, and you get put on the spot. But it's great. It's a great learning experience, and when you're forced into that situation, you grow.
Yeah.
The problem is people shy away from being uncomfortable, but when you're uncomfortable, that's when you actually grow and develop these skills. So being in the situations where you're not really that happy to be there, you've got to identify that is actually the moment when you're going to gain these skills.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. It is one of them you've got to almost throw in the deep end, and that technique isn't necessarily going to work on everyone, because there's so many different personality types and teaching methods.
I mean, but some people work better if you put your arm around them, take them to one side and just say, this is how we should do it, rather than chucking them in at the deep end. But generally speaking, deep end is a good way to learn. To be honest with you,
I think,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I soon learned after teaching you that teaching's not for me.
That's why you work with us now,
That's
because
why
of him.
that's why
I wasn't
it's,
that.
it's all Josh's fault.
We're going to wrap this episode up for today. We have got part 2, which will be on SGTV on this channel. So keep your eye out for that one. Neil and Josh, want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
And yeah, we'll see you on the next episode here at SGTV.